This episode of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.
This is Tom Gibbous, the voice of Shikamaru Nara from Naruto, and you are listening to ACMG Presents Talk Time Live. And it's not a drag.
Welcome to the show to give you all the news, views, and opinions in the world of gaming. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live Extras Select Start with your host, Xavier Josiah. Power up and game on.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live Extra Select Start. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. Folks, we got some news in the world of gaming we got to talk about, but in our final stage segment, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake Demo. I've been waiting to play this game. They dropped a release for the demo out, and we got a lot to talk about, so I am looking forward to that. But let's get underway with some news right now. We got a few bits of news to talk about, including the recent C2E2 event that Repop puts together for Chicago every year. This year, it was a lot of big things going on. One in particular was AEW, All Elite Wrestling, who was in relation of this event because they had their Revolution game. And I didn't realize that they were putting this together with C2E2 and working with Repop for this. I thought that was a great connection. Also makes me think and hope that hopefully we could get those guys in Philly for Keystone Comic-Con. I don't think that's happening, but it would be awesome. I didn't think that Tom Holland was coming to Philadelphia either last year, but they surprised me and dropped the bomb on that either. So it'd be awesome. It'd be really awesome to have them come down. But the fact that they're working with Repop is an awesome thing, and it which also does lead to possibilities of them doing that because they were at New York Comic-Con as well. So while I'm bringing up AEW Wrestling, because you know that if you're a wrestling fan, especially of All Elite Wrestling, you know that a video game is in the works, and we've been speculating who's going to be making it, whether it is going to be Ukes, whether it's going to be another company, or was it going to be Sin Sophia, which is formerly known as the Aki Corporation. Well, it hasn't been concrete or confirmed, but at the All Elite Wrestling panel, Cody Rhodes stated that Kenny Omega is working very hard on the upcoming AEW video game, and that when it is finally ready to be announced, that fans of a very familiar company with a very familiar game engine may be happy. But he wants us to be patient and stay tuned for that huge announcement. Yeah, not going to go that far and say it, but it does seem like that it does appear that thank you, Kenny Omega, because he is not just a gamer, he is a hardcore gamer. Like, dude comes out with, but between anime and video games, he comes out with video game characters, as well as he's a big fan of Final Fantasy VII, I believe, because he calls his move the One-Winged Angel, which I believe is named after Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. So that, and not only that, he also has one of the most lethal strikes I've ever seen in wrestling since HBK's Sweet Chin Music, and that is the V Trigger, which is also named after Street Fighter, as many of you know, or for those who don't know. But Kenny is behind in overseeing the video game. Kenny Omega was a fan of No Mercy. He was a fan of all of the Aki Engine games. And it looks like that could possibly be happening. I am looking forward to this, and I'm hoping that it is the case. I don't think those guys would actually put the wool over our heads, or pull the wool over our heads and do that. They've been very, very fan friendly and considerate to the fans and giving everybody what they want since they started. And that momentum is still going here strong. But But yeah, man, it would be great to have the Aki engine back. If you guys have not played if you've been wrestling fans and don't know what the Aki engine is, man, you're in for a treat. I don't want to say you're under a rock, because there's a huge generation now of fans that have not played those old games back in the day. But one of the games, when people think of the Aki engine, they think WrestleMania 2000, WCW versus the World, WCW versus NWO. But it was when WrestleMania 2000 came out is when they really stepped it up. And No Mercy is considered by Americans as the greatest wrestling game of all time. I will rival that. It is for America, but not the best all the time. What rivals No Mercy is another game that Aki Engine came out with too. By the way, they also did Def Jam Fight for New York and Def Jam Vendetta as well. So, as well as the Kinnikuman games as well. I mean, that engine has done a lot. That engine has seen a lot, and is one of the tightest systems ever. One of the best. And trust me when I tell you, it's not easy to do a wrestling game. Really is not easy to do a wrestling game, let alone create an engine. There's only a handful of people that has been successful with this. Aki is one of them. Ukes, to their credit, is another. Spike Chunsoft, who does Fire Pro Wrestling, which I'm not even going to get into it, but I still don't understand why they haven't done a game on the Switch yet. But it's their loss, because now we got Retro Soft Studios, Mike Herman's company, who is looking to be creating a very strong, solid wrestling game using the Tecbos WrestleFest engine. So more power to them on that, and it looks like we're going to get a really solid game coming in July as well. So there's only a handful of successful people or companies that I can say that has really done, but nobody has done it better than Aki. Nobody, guaranteed. I cannot tell you enough how well that game is. But while people think that No Mercy was the best one, I will challenge them and say that Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 was better than even that. And I say that because it had everything except for the story mode that they had. The story mode was something that No Mercy had, and would was a contrast to Virtual Pro Wrestling, and differentiate themselves from it. What Virtual Pro had was the same fighting engine, the same creative suite. Might I say it had a better creative suite, because it had way more items that you could pick from, custom items that you could make to create your character, and more movesets. And why they had more movesets, because they also had the addition of mixed martial arts in here. Those games were out before mixed martial arts became an actual, it literally became an actual fame. Like, mixed martial arts during 93 was just coming out. It was just becoming a thing. It was the dark ages of mixed martial arts. So it wasn't as popular as it was now. It almost actually, because of John McCain, the late Senator John McCain, it was actually almost out. They were fighting to not have mixed martial arts at the time. So it was a rarity to have something of that nature. And when none of us understood mixed martial arts at the time, or pancrase fighting at the time as well, you had to be a really, really hardcore combat fighter. I didn't get into mixed martial arts till the days of Pride. Like when Total Elimination, was out, when Vanderlei Silva and Rampage Jackson and all them were, and Anderson Silva were just coming in their young ages into that phrase. Anderson Silva wasn't even dominating like he was in the UFC before that time. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I even think he got a loss or two maybe in Pride during that time. When he go into UFC, he just dominated everybody. So that's the one thing that they had there, and I think that it made the game engine a lot better. Plus, you had all these legendary, Japanese wrestlers, and Vader, and also and legendary American wrestlers too. You had Vader, you had Stan Hansen, you had Dan Severn, you had Pancrase had Boss Root in there at the time. Just so many people. Nate Marquardt, I think, was in the game too. It was just so many wrestlers and MMA fighters and Pancrase fighters in that game at the time. The library was way bigger at the time for them, and I thought it was just an awesome game experience. But what No Mercy did and you got to come out with the title. It was one of the first games that you got to come out wearing the belt, and I guess the best way you could. Because there were too many wrestling games that had you come out with the belt. No Mercy, and Virtual Pro Wrestling were the games that finally allowed you to come out wearing the actual title belt. And that was a big deal because for presentation wise, because it really gave you the real fight feel. Like you're a champion, but you didn't wear the belt, so it didn't exactly make you feel like you were really fighting for a title at the time. So that was one of the key things that made it so awesome about playing that game. So that right there was a definite thing, and why people think it was better. Plus the story mode, it was a bracket system. It was like a tournament bracket system in the story mode, where if you go for one part of the story segment and you get through it, you could kind of pick between which segment that you want to go through next, what bracket you want to go through next. And depending on what bracket you go to, that changes the story narrative, and that changes the way things are. But it all leads to the end of WrestleMania, where you fight for the title, and each title had a different storyline. So I don't know if that's where they're going for. I don't know if that's what they're trying to do for this particular, AEW game. But it would be really cool if they could do something like that, but make it bigger. But make it absolutely bigger, because you never know what you want to do. I don't know what they're going to do in accordance to what they've done already with the prior games, or the actual other games of the past, or maybe with the previous prior 2K games as well. So hopefully we will get the game that we've been waiting for. I know one thing: there is no way in hell it'll be any way worse or better. It'll be any way worse than WWE 2K20. What that did was show how bad things are for that company, but also how good Yuke's actually is. And Yuke's is not the best when it comes to game engines, but to their credit, I thought that they did as the years gone by, because I've been playing their games for years, and if you compare them to the Aki engine, no, they can't beat it. But Yuke's somehow stayed alive throughout all these years, and they have done better. There are some really good games that they've done, but it's like their batting average is not good. They sometimes hit home runs, sometimes they strike out. It's never consistent when it comes to them. And now with 2K games, with 2K games, it just wasn't a thing. So, but it is really great to know that this is coming. And we, once again, thanks to All Elite Wrestling and the Elite, that we are going to get what we've been waiting for a long time. Because we thought, a lot of us old school gamers didn't think that we were going to be able to ever see a Aki engine game in this day and age. So I am very excited for this as well. You know what? I'm not exactly as excited as I am for an AEW game, but I'm a wrestling fan. But what is really exciting too is Yacht Club Games. They are constantly expanding what they have done with the Shovel Knight series, much like Game Freak does with Pokemon. They've just managed to do so many things. They found their niche. They're working on it. They're expanding on it. They're great guys. I had a couple of them on the show and interviewing them recently about Cyber Shadow, and which still has not come out yet. And hopefully it is scheduled to come out this year. So I'm looking forward to playing that and reviewing that game, as well as other games that they're trying to come out. But they have done it again. They're at it again as they coming out with another Shovel Knights title called Shovel Knight Succeed Card Fighter, which is in fact a tabletop card battle game. So I thought this was very interesting. I checked out this on giantbomb.com. You can check out there. They did a 30-minute plus demo of the game, and it seemed like it was comprehensive and not too complicated, not too complex like most tabletop games are. The game provides some beautiful and vibrant card art in there as well, with some of your favorite characters from the Shovel Knight series and more. Actually, the full set, I believe they said it goes for $85. I would normally just keep it as a collector. I wouldn't necessarily probably play the game. I own the Street Fighter tabletop card game, which I've never touched. I don't even think I unwrapped the actual packs. I got it from San Diego Comic-Con. I'm just a big Street Fighter fan. It's more of a collector's item for me. But considering I don't know where I can find another one, I would never play that one right there. If I buy another one again, yeah, I'll play with that version. I'm an old school comic book collector, so it's like you got to buy two. One to mess with, one to keep intact. So, but do note that they also have separate standalone packs as well, include decks for other games such as Dead Cells, Robot Named Fight, and I believe some Street Fighter characters have been shown in there as well. I believe I did see Guile in there as well. All of those different packs, whether it's from Dead Cells, Robot Named Fight, or whatever, they all play fluidly together with the Shovel Knight series. So it's pretty much, it does come off like a crossover type of thing going on there as well. So it's pretty awesome. I like the fact that they have a tabletop version of that. I wonder if some of our board game cafes will be carrying those games in Philly. Got to check that out. But one of the things I think is one of the biggest problems with tabletop card battle games, or whether it be video games or interactive in person, is that they can be, the developers try to make them intriguing as possible, but also complex and challenging, sometimes too much. The idea is to balance all of that out to make it appealing enough, for gamers to want to play and be involved in. I'll give you an example of this. Gwent. First of all, I hate the freaking name. I even sometimes hate the game more. But Gwent, if you play Witcher 3 or Thronebreaker, which is the spinoff, then to me, is by far the most complex and sometimes hard to understand game, card battle game I've ever played. I know Magic is probably another one. I don't even dare try to play that game. I'm pretty sure the Pokemon card battle games are a little bit more easier to play because they have a rock, paper, scissors type of gameplay in there. So I'm pretty sure that's a little bit simpler to play. But still, like, that game makes no sense sometimes because it's like, unlike the other games, some other games like this is they randomize the cards, and if you don't have enough powerful cards, you're screwed. You gotta grind hard to find these powerful cards in order to be able to play, and it becomes frustrating as hell after a while. So if it's not easy enough to really get into or find a way to better play it, you wind up getting turned off by the experience. A lot of people do. I mean, there's some people who are a little bit more intuitive to the game, but for most people, for casual gamers, it's like you want to be able to get in and get out. You want to find a way to be eased into the game and to be able to experience the game. But I think it's just like, it's just in your face, and you just got to know what you got to do now. And if you don't, sorry for you. The tutorials for me are never that easy to understand either. So I'm telling you, still the best game in the most player-friendly game I've ever played involving a card battle system that I've come across has to be SNK versus Capcom Card Fighter for the Neo Geo Pocket. The game in the battle system was so simple yet challenging and fun, addictive as hell. Nobody has been able to mimic that to this day. The second and probably closest to that will be Super Dragon Ball Heroes. I just played it last night too. A lot of fun to play. Like, you have to, like, the crazy part about Super Dragon Ball Heroes, whether you play it the actual tabletop version or you play the video game version, is that it has a sense of complexity, but allows both novice players and hardcore players to enjoy the game at their leisure. So I can go in there and just play an easier mode of the game and just be cool with it and have a lot of fun with it. So I never had a problem with that. I haven't played another game aside from those two that have been that addictive and fun to play to this day. And I want to take note, going back to Yacht Club Games, that they are also releasing other Shovel Knight games too. I forgot the other one. It's like I think it's called Shovel Knight Dungeon, which I believe is like a puzzle Tetris style game with RPG elements in it as well. Probably more closer to Puzzle Quest at best. So, and then they got Puzzle Knight Dig, which is kind of their Super NES version of Shovel Knight, and it kind of plays like SteamWorld Dig. So I am extremely looking forward to that as well. And that game looks very promising. These guys are doing a very well job, and you could tell the grade of their success when Nintendo honors them with an amiibo statue. That speaks volumes. That speaks all volumes right there, because not many games out there, not many indie games out there have their own amiibo. Like, I can tell you, there's someone that deserve to have their own amiibo, like the Gentle Brothers and Cat Quest. Oh, that game needs to get more praise. That I had so much fun playing that game, and I'm looking forward to playing 3. They should, and just the character design of that is very amiibo. That is very, very amiibo worthy there. So, but yeah, kudos to them. They're great. I'm looking forward when SteamWorld Dig 2. I'm gonna see if I can get those guys back on to talk about that as well. They were awesome to have on the show and learn about their situation, their growth, and their company as well. Again, guys, if you want to hear any of these interviews that I had with some of these game developers, and you are an aspiring game developer yourself, go on to TalkTimeLive.com or type in TalkTime. I'll say it again at the end of the segment. You know I will. Or type in TalkTimeLive.com/exclusives. And trust me, like, there's some great game developers that I had the opportunity to talk to. Way Forward, Yacht Club Games, Gentle Brothers. I mean, you name it. I've had the honor of talking to a lot of these guys and learning from them as well, man. These guys work their ass off creating some of these brilliantly great games out there. So let me move on to another deal, mobile game deal. Not too big of a fan of mobile games. I'm just telling you now. But this one was worth talking about, and that was Marvel Future Revolution. It's a very interesting game. I believe this was announced in PAX, and this is an open world RPG. Apparently, there are characters in the trailer that I saw, which included Captain America, Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, all with their multiverse versions of themselves as they help fight against a major threat in the multiverse. So this is going to be interesting. I don't know how deep this game is, where the story lies with this. It is said to be an open world game with turn-based combat, with a turn-based combat system. That's where I'm kind of like, I'm not a big turn-based fan, so I'm kind of going to push it to the side there. But also, to appear in there are some of your favorite villains as well. You got Red Skull, you got Baron Mordo, you got MODOK, Green Goblin, Red Goblin, which I'd never heard of before. I got to go check my comic records for that one. Never heard that there was a Red Goblin. I was expecting a Hobgoblin, but this is a new one, and many more. So Future Revolution will also allow you to wear new costumes, gear for your characters, as well as no doubt there will probably be an in-app purchase for that whole entire thing. That's where I kind of get turned off. I get turned off of there. There's no word on this game, when this game will be available, nor do they mention the price structure or whether you will be able to play offline as well. And that's one of the things that I will probably give this game a try if they allow you to play offline. If I gotta use data, I don't even want to mess with that. That's part of the turn off of, like, I used to be a big mobile game. When I first started buying cell phones, I was a huge advocate and fan of these games. Like, I'll give you an example. A company, I don't even know if these guys are still out anymore, but they were some carny, unethical. To me, I really thought that their methods were very unethical in how they were trying to leech money off of people. And this was the early days of mobile games. You know, it's just one of those things. Gameville or Game Evil is what they were called. And they tend to make these great, beautiful retro games that were reminiscent of games like Zelda, or, mostly action RPG, over the top type of games like Zelda and all that stuff. Make some incredible games. Addictive even. Really great games. But as you go deeper into the game gets harder. And when it gets harder, it encourages you to buy in-app purchases to keep the gameplay going. And it was to a point that you would never get to. It's basically a new way of doing old school arcade games. and it was more or less like a carny type of deal. So I really, to me, it really turned me off because I was digging these games. And even worse, if anything happened to the game, and like say, for instance, your game would race or whatever like that, you could never get any of the stuff that you earned back. You would have to start all over again and go right back into the game again. And you spent all this money on this game, and there was no way of contacting these guys. There was no way of getting all your save data back. There was none of that. So that's when I became turned off on the experience. I will give credit to only one game series that I've loved and has never saw the light of day. I mean, there's some really good games out there, and there's some games that are playing on the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation, and that are playing on mobile as well. I know Cat Quest is playing on there as well, so that's one of the legit games that I can say that's worth getting. But any game that you could pay full price on, to me, is worth getting. That gives you a full, great game experience. Those are the games that are worth getting. Gameville and other games like that, and games that require you to keep sponging, money off you. No, I'm not a fan of that. But the one game I will always get praises, and I still consider this the greatest game of all time, because this was the game that lured gamers to play mobile games because of the power of the graphics, the processing power of this game. It was unbelievable. We got to see a game of this caliber. Before the Switch, we saw the power of the Switch. We saw a game of this caliber on a small size screen. That was the company Chair, and they created a game called Infinity Blade. This game was so huge. It was a Apple iOS exclusive. This game was so huge that it spawned three different. It spawned two other sequels. So it was like Infinity Blade 1, 2, and 3. It was more or less a fighting game, but it was like I would say a third-person fighting game, meaning like sort of like you think Gears of War, you think God of War, the recent God of War, where it's just like all panned, all you see is the back. But I would give it even more. It's an RPG. It was /RPG, half RPG, half fighting. A lot like the play mechanics was a lot like Punch Out, but you were using swords and all this stuff. So it was it was really good. It cost like $4.99. You play through the game. You could beat the game. There was a great story narrative to it. You could earn all these different really cool swords. You could buy, sell. But they gave you the option. If you wanted to get all of the more powerful swords and breeze right through the game, they gave you the option. They didn't force you to do it like these other games did. They gave you the option of doing that. And that's what I love that. I love them for life for that. And you got to see a really cool story. In fact, truth be told, it was the first time I ever learned about the actor Troy Baker because of Infinity Blade. Because he was the voice of the main character on the third one. This game was so big, became so acclaimed, that they even came out with a novel. Like, I think they came out with 2 novels. I brought those novels. I read those novels. They were great. And they created this really great narrative for this game. They were serious. But then the business structure changed in the mobile gaming industry, and everybody just started wasting their time making these great games, but using them as a cash cow, which to me took away the integrity and artistic integrity, for that matter, of video games when they started doing this. And to me, it became a big turnoff. So I'm really, at this time, I'm really skeptical about playing any. I virtually don't play any games on my cell phone anymore, because it's just I got turned off by it, man. I lost a lot of money. Not insanely a lot of money, but I lost the money. I think the last mobile games I was really intuitive on was the Family Guy game. The Family Guy and the Simpsons game was. And again, if you lose any of your save data, you can't get that back. So you got to buy all those stuff over. It was just, the business structure was just shady as hell. I stopped messing with that ages ago. So that's that. So play at your own leisure when it comes to these mobile games. Even though this is a Marvel game, which is also probably a Disney game, just think about it. I know there's a big market for this, and there is a demographic in other countries that play these mobile games hugely. There's the Fortnite deal as well. I think Fortnite does a great job. I think when it comes to because of their cloud, feature, and I think that's the part that changed the game. With that is games like that where it has cloud features and that allows you to make sure that all of your stuff is there. Overwatch is another one. Allows you to have all of your stuff no matter where you're playing it from. So the structure has changed, and that's a good thing. But I still don't like the fact that that certain games are online reliant. That's where I kind of get turned off on. Like, give me a game that I can play offline if I'm not in an area that I can't play. That still creates replay value for your product. I don't understand why that's not valuable to some game companies as well. But here or there, if you're a mobile game fan, Marvel's coming out with it. To its credit, it looks absolutely stunning. It looks really well detailed. It looks great. But if you ask me, just me personally, I'm going to stick to my Nintendo Switch. I'm going to stick to Marvel vs. Capcom. I mean, not Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which is a phenomenal game, as you guys know. I'll stick with PlayStation 4 and Spider-Man and all those other games that are coming out. The new Avengers game coming out very soon. I'll stick to that. I can't mess with mobile. Cannot mess with mobile at all when it comes to stuff like that. So, last bit of news I'm going to talk about before we move on to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake Demo is E3. We talked about this before on this show in reference to the recent PAX East event and all those other events that has been canceling out. We got the Game Developers Conference, which is being postponed due to the COVID-19 scare, and LA declares a state of emergency now. Well, it is apparent E3 has answered. E3 plans to continue even after Los Angeles declares a state of emergency over the COVID-19 scare, which is the coronavirus. And according to IGN.com, the ESA, which is the Entertainment Software Association, has issued a new statement regarding E3, saying they are monitoring, quote unquote, monitoring and evaluating the situation daily. They continue, even Arnold Classic. I just found out that Arnold Classic has been canceled too, but Arnold Schwarzenegger is mad because they were forced to cancel their event while other events are still playing. Other events are still going on. They got like 20,000, 30,000 attendees going to be at these events. So he's pissed off as well. I agree, if he has to cancel, all of them should cancel as well. So it's going to be not any more safe than that. But EA claims that they are. They continue to say that our E3 team and partners are continuing to monitor COVID-19 via the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and the World Health Organization. We are actively assessing the latest information and will continue to develop measures to further reduce health risk at the show. So basically, they're monitoring it. I mean, what they're saying basically is, as far as we know right now, to me, that's what it speaks out. Right now, we're going to be open. Anything can change, and they don't know. They don't know what's going to happen. But they're saying right now they don't feel it's warranted enough to say we're going to shut it down. So, as well as much as other ones have. I wanted to also note that WWE has also stated at this time that they are still going to have WrestleMania in April, regardless of what's happening. They don't have a clue what the hell's going on either. Stephanie McMahon, I believe it was said to be, one has stated that. Although both companies will continue with their major money-grabbing events, anything can change as this virus continues to spread. And guys, we have not much information on this. We don't have a clue what's going on to a point that we know when a vaccine is coming, how this is being spread. All we know is that we have to be as cautious as possible. So please, I can't stress this enough. If you're one of those people who don't give a rat's ass about going to a con sick, I beg you, stay your ass at home. Be patient. Live another day. Allow other people to live another day. And just wait till next year. Try to see if you could advance your ticket to next year or something like that. They got to honor this in some way because of the scare. It would be unfair if they do that, but I tell you, man, this is a no joke. I fear for what's going on here. It just seems like everything's just getting so biblical in a sense. I'm not a religious dude, but I understand the nature of the situations and the prophecies that were there. We got a man in office who's just causing a lot of chaos, and now we got, this going on. It's just crazy. Just crazy. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this segment. We're going to take a break, come back, and we're going to talk Final Fantasy VII. We finally got our hands on it, and I can't wait to talk about this. We're going to do that right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dak Xavier Josiah, the host of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. You want to catch up with all of our podcast shows and hear from some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games, such as...
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto.
This is Stephanie Shea, the voice of Sailor Moon.
This is Ruben Langdon, voice of Ken Masters and Dante from Devil May Cry.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter V.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go.
Here's your chance to check out all of that and more on TalkTimeLive.com. TalkTimeLive.com provides all of our ACMG content with new and previous episodes, exclusive interviews, articles, and much more. Visit TalkTimeLive.com and let us help you learn to let go, live life, and love all things ACMG.
Talk Time Live.
Segment. I'm saying segment and not review like I normally do because I don't want to really necessarily review this game because it's just a demo, but it is worth talking about because we've been dying to get our hands on this since the day it was announced, and we finally got to. Square Enix released the Final Fantasy demo, as many of you know and probably have played by now, and to me, in my opinion, this was every bit as worth the wait as possible. If we're ever not convinced that this game is going to be a game of the year, possibly definitely contender, but if not winner, then I can't see how you aren't convinced by playing this demo. This demo, which I'm watching right now, I'm watching the YouTube version. I already played the entire demo, and I damn sure going to play it again because it is worth playing. Look, I'll tell you now, if anybody complained about them waiting in extending their time, which by now you should know Square Enix, when they delay something, it's a damn good reason. You best believe that when we finally get the final product, they're going to give us the best of it. And my goodness, this demo alone convinced me that this game is going to be absolutely phenomenal. This demo is absolutely phenomenal. The amount of now I've played like everybody else. I've played the original. There's so much attention to detail in this version. I remember every scene of the first stage, like it's just but they put so much in depth and detail in this, things that we never got the chance to experience because it was done on a CD-ROM disc, and and it was ahead of its time for that time. But they took it. I can't believe to say they've taken this even further. And what's best about it is that, just like they said with Final Fantasy 15, it's for everybody. Like, if you weren't a turn-based fan, truth be told, as much as I praise and love Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 7 is also the reason why I don't play turn-based games anymore. And a lot of that had to do with the Black Materia stage, which it's more my fault than theirs. It has nothing to do with them. But I also don't like the fact of being able to sit around and just get hit and then wait to hit somebody too. I never liked the logic. But just now seeing this the way I want to see it and play it the way I want to play it. A lot of more. It has the look of Advent children in here, and followed by the fact that it's now action based, which they do give you the option to still play it traditional or classic is what they're talking about, which you can still play this turn-based wise. So much like Final Fantasy 15, you have the option to do it whatever way you want. You could just play through the story and enjoy the story for what it is. You can challenge yourself action-wise and make it a little bit more challenging, but they also have turn-based options as well to give you the old school feel. So it is for everybody. I knew that they were going to base it on what they've done with Final Fantasy 15 in here, but just everything that you saw from the original, just done 50 times better. Seeing Barrett and Cloud interact with each other deeper. This time with voice acting, you're not reading. They have subtitles there, but you're not reading. It is immersing you so much more into this universe that you love for years. And I had people who are bigger Final Fantasy fans than I am say that they like 6 better, they like other ones better. But truth be told, say what you will, and that is their opinion, and they're entitled to their opinion. There's a reason why this lasted so long. This is a reason why Cloud is crossing over to other games, why Sephiroth is crossing over to other games, and why this game is being remade, because Square Enix considers this the greatest of them all. Why there was a sequel to this as well. Why there were spinoffs to this. Why they're on, Kingdom Hearts and Smash Brothers. And, there's a reason for this. The majority of the fan base agrees that this game is the best of them all. Bar none. Just plain and simple. And just being able to, the fact that you could do switch, the combat system too in this game is just all this. You got punishment mode, which is a little bit slower, but it gives you a lot more damage and impact dealt with against enemies. And there's still some really great RPG elements in here that still kind of play accustomed to the original series. Operation mode also plays a factor here. You got your magic items as well. They don't let you go deep into it to a point that you can mess with the materia or anything. They're saving that for when the game comes out as well. But you got characters in here that you saw before in the original game, but they weren't really a factor. They weren't really embedded into it as well, but now they are. I give you, and let me tell you this. If you recognize some of the voices, there's some really recognizable voices in this game. One in particular, Matt Jones. I immediately picked up his voice the minute I heard it. I think it's awesome. He's one of my favorite actors. I love this guy. If you recognize his voice, you've heard him on Breaking Bad. He's been on there. He's also on Moms from time to time. He's on Abishola. Bob Loves Hearts Abishola, which is a really great series. That is out now as well. And man, I love this guy. So he's in it now. You got John Eric Bentley in here as Barrett. It's just awesome. And to see Barrett, let me tell you, when I played this game, I can't speak for any of you guys, but when I played this game, and I didn't intentionally, this was a genuine reaction here. An absolutely genuine reaction. When I came in and played this game, and the first time that Cloud, that iconic scene when Cloud jumps off the train, I legit marked out, and I'm saying this is the wrestling term for getting very excited. I legit marked out as if I was in the theater watching a Marvel movie. That's how excited I was, and it just came out of nowhere, and I literally went woo in my own home, getting excited for this. I mean, it really. I've never been excited to play on a PlayStation game this much, probably in a long time. This game, I am extremely excited about. Seeing the Shinra Corporation and in here, and I love the characters in this game. It's just seeing them now in great detail, and it's just awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on this game. They look so beautiful. Oh God, I'm just looking at this right now. Barrett and his vest and his gun. And I also like, by the way, I like the fact that you can switch characters while you're playing too. You get a chance to play as Barrett as well, and how he, how his works, and you could charge up his gun. And I can't wait to see the other sword items that you'll be able to play in here as well too. Like, I know they went into great detail for this, but man, Barrett is going to be he's already been an iconic black character before in video games. His stock is going to go so high after this game. I can see it now. I definitely tell you, the way that they drew him, the way that they designed him and made him look, he looks awesome. The way John Eric Bentley is portraying him, it's just great. He's going to be an iconic dude. His stock in gaming history is going to be high after this. We haven't even seen Sephiroth yet, which is played by Tyler Hoechlin. And when that comes in, man, they gave us enough to say, like, I really want to play this game. Money has been taken the day that this game is released. If people haven't invested in this game yet, and if you haven't played this game, I highly recommend you to jump on this, and guarantee you will immediately get that game. And if you get the deluxe version, you're going to get a bunch of extra materia items that goes with it. You're going to get some, leeway items that is going to come with it as well. So, if you can, go get the whole thing. Get the entire whole thing. If not, get the experience. But either way, you're going to love what you're about to experience here. And the boss battle, too. The boss battle with this, also, if you remember the big spider character, it doesn't stay in one place like it did in the original version. That thing, that mech jumps out everywhere, and it's a really, really cool boss fight. I so enjoyed this. I enjoyed this for what it was. I immediately got so excited playing this. I'm looking at the Barrett part right now. I like the fact that they have a way for you to do slow-mo so you can aim properly. His unique ability, which is the overcharge, it's a very great tool. But I can't wait to be able to use other gun items and attachments to him to be able to do. I like the fact that he just throws punch down to charge the gun and blast the hell out of you, man. He is no joke. I just absolutely love it. So, yeah, again, I'm putting my hands down right now. Even after I knew this before. I saw this before when I saw this coming way back. I saw when I started seeing gameplay, features for this. But now after playing the demo, I'm gonna put my money down that this game is gonna be the game of the year for a lot of games, for a lot of game media, bar none. By the time the Game Awards come back, I predict this is gonna get game of the year. I'm putting it down right now. I don't see any other game right now because of how beloved this game is, because of what we've got to experience just from the demo. I no doubt this is going to make a huge comeback. Square Enix is going to make it big, and this is great because I don't know. I mean, they're going to be working on Avengers 2, and this is another great game that's going to be coming out. That's coming out in September, so we won't have time to play that. But it looks like that one's shaping up too. But this is way more important. I think this game is way more important of a game, and I am looking so very forward to this. I will play this demo so much until the actual game comes out, which I believe Fantasy Remake release date is, because they had to postpone it, April 10th. We got a month, but this gave us about like a half hour, 45 minutes of gameplay. I mean, that alone, just going through this game, it's like about a half hour. It's like 45 minutes, maybe an hour of gameplay to have fun with. That's just fine. I am great with this for now. I don't think anybody knew that they were going to come out with a demo, because all of a sudden reports were coming out that the demo came out, and then everybody started finding out more and more and more, and it literally just went viral at this point, and just took my whole entire Monday this week playing this game. So, this game that came out and released January 31st of 1997. Whew, my goodness. Worldwide. Changed the game. We're celebrating one of the greatest games of all time. The game that literally... you know what I hope to? You know what they should do? And it'd be really cool if they did, if they haven't done already. This game deserves a documentary because this game really did. I don't understand. Whether people liked other versions of Final Fantasy or not, that's one thing. You cannot deny what this game has done for the gaming industry, what Square Enix or Squaresoft at the time has done for the gaming industry. And they revolutionized the way we saw games played and presented. The presentation, the movie presentation was taken from this game. Like, this game was the first game to show us that you can make a movie quality game in this experience, and they gave it to us. They gave us characters that are just unforgettable, that has been beloved throughout the years, and I am so happy to be a fan and to be able to play this game in this day and age. I am just yeah. This is one of those things that you got to think and look back. It's like, we are blessed. We are really, I think we take for granted a lot of the things that we do today because it's so easy to obtain this day and age. We live in a country right now where even though we got a lot of bad things going on, it could be a lot worse, and there are other countries who got a lot worse. But we're in a country right now in the U.S. If you're listening right now, we're in the United States. There's some people who are listening that are from other countries, but we have the ability, and some other countries do too. That have the ability to, but we here in the United States have the ability to enjoy such great creation, some great art, some great innovations. And I think sometimes we take it for granted. I think we sometimes take it for granted and don't understand. We can be spoiled sometimes at the things that we get. And I think we should take it back and look at all of the great creations that people have done like this and just be very happy that we are at a time that we can enjoy this. Because, man, there's so many things that we could be in right now. I am so grateful to be a fan of all of this. This fan. So again, folks, this coming out in April, but the demo is out now. Thank you, Square Enix, for giving this very, very tasteful gift to us right now. And I'm looking forward to getting my hands on all of this when it comes out. This looks so promising. This plays so awesome. I am totally enthralled, as you can hear it right now. Just looking at it right now, I feel like I want to just play it again and again and again. And I like the fact that you're going to be able to, there's definitely going to be some extremely heavy replay value in this game. So, folks, stay tuned. And that will do it for this edition of Select Start. Thank you so very much. I am so eager to play this game right now. You won't tell me. Speaking of game-related things, this week, if you remember yesterday on Netflix, Castlevania has arrived. As you remember, we talked about it on the show. They have promised some really interesting things to come. I've watched all 10 episodes. We're going to talk about that this week on the main show on Sunday. So stay tuned for that, as well as some other things that are coming up. And I'm going to hit on actually I'm going to touch on something really deep. This is going to be like 2 editorials that I want to talk about this week on the main show. That's going to be deep. And I've mentioned one of which before. One of them I'm going to talk about is the geek community. And I think it's important that we talk about this simply for the fact that there's some ideological things that is going on in the geek community that I don't think we touch on enough, and I think we should touch on. And I had this conversation with a bunch of my A.C.M.G members. I won't name names or whatnot, but they were brave enough to talk about this. And real geek talk. We're going to talk some real geek talk on this. And this is going to be this is not going to be the main talk topic. This is going to be in the what's new in the world of A.C.M.G. Because to me, it's what's new in the world of A.C.M.G. right now. But we're going to talk about bitterness and envious in the geek community. We got to talk about this. This is something that doesn't get talked about. It's going to be on my platform. I'm going to say my piece about it. I've noticed it happens. It happens everywhere, but in particular, it's significant in the geek community. So we're going to talk about that as well. The other thing I want to talk about is the blurred community. This is something that I've talked about many a times on the show, and my thoughts on the blurred community, or the word blurred, for instance. And to me, it's something that is a little bit, it's trendy to others. Is, to me, I think is a dangerous thing. I've had this conversation with guests like Jamar Nicholas, who was on the show, and we talked about it. We touched on it. I touched on it with Jeffrey Thorne, who, not recently, but our last interview, we touched on it. And he gave his thoughts on it. We kind of agreed on it. Also, Jamar agreed on it too. It's a trendy thing, but I think it's a dangerous thing as well. There is a documentary that's going to be celebrating the black nerd. And while it's celebratory, it depends on how they produce this and how it's portrayed is what I'm a little bit worried about. So I am going to probably review this, and we're probably going to touch back on this, but I got to talk about this because I had a conversation with one of our seasoned A.C.M.G. members on Facebook, and I had to school him on it. I had to really tell him why I think it is, and and whatnot. So we're going to touch on that. And when that documentary comes out, I'm going to thoroughly look at that and review that and give my piece on that. It's just how we handle the situation. That's what it comes down to. It's not that I'm against celebrating, our people, my people, as for their fandom, but I don't think we need to categorize it or label it. And we're going to talk deeply on that on Sunday. So that, along with my review of the Castlevania Season 3 series as well, and whether they did tease what Adi Shankar was talking about on IGN. So we're going to touch on that as well. So all of that and much, much more, people. So thank you so very much for supporting the show. Check us out on, where are we at? First of all, you can follow me on Instagram at Xavier Josiah on Instagram, where you can check me out there. You can also follow us and subscribe to our show on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Podbean, and Pocket Cast, as well as all Amazon devices. We are in all major groups right now, and there's not one place that you can find us. You'll find a lot of great content here. You'll find some great guests coming onto the show. By the way, speaking of guests, remember, I said that I was going to have up to 3 guests on the show. 2 of them did succeed. It looks like the other one, unfortunately, probably won't. It happens sometimes. It's unfortunate, but these things, some, it's easier for some than not. But maybe, hopefully, in the future, maybe somehow, some way, we'll come across each other somewhere. Look, I can tell you this: there were guests that I've wanted for like years, and somehow, some way, I did wind up getting them. I can give you a few examples. Longvo, the artist from Udon Entertainment, who I had the chance to meet. I wanted him on the show for a long time. Lo and behold, I ended up getting him on my live show at Keystone Comic-Con. So that was awesome. Fred Tatasciore, I always wanted him on there. Got to host my own live show at Keystone Comic-Con and have him on as well. TC Carson, the original voice of Kratos, Kyle Barker from Living Single. Always wanted him. Got him. So it just happens when it needs to happen. So who knows? These things happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen when you want it to. It happens when it needs to be. So I'll just keep it moving from there. But I did talk to a group of guys that I definitely am looking forward to talk to. Is a new Black-owned game development company that is coming out as well. And when the time comes, I will have them on the show. I contacted them, and we got some representation in the game development too. It's not just playing video games. We got representation finally making their own games. So I'm looking forward to having these gentlemen on as well. So stay tuned. If you might actually already know who I'm talking about, but stay tuned for that as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Again, you can check us out on all those platforms. You can also check us out on TalkTimeLive.com. And if you want to listen to all of our exclusive content, check us out at TalkTimeLive.com patreon.com/exclusives. You can check it all out there and keep us growing and keep us going at all times. So folks, that will do it. On behalf of myself, all I gotta say is learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live. I am out of here. I will talk to you guys on Sunday. Take care. Music for this episode is provided by Game Chops. Check out these great chiptune tracks and more at music.gamechops.com.